Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. I am here joined by my son Ellis. Ellis, welcome.
Hello, thank you. I feel very welcomed.
You should feel welcome. It's your home away from home, essentially.
Literally.
Literally. We're here to kick off, though, a new series called James Bond Generations. Get it? Generations. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch some of the Bond films that we've curated, that we've picked together, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about it, we're going to pick at it, we're going to rate it, and just see what we think of it. And if there's a difference between the generations. You're looking at me funny. I dressed for the occasion. You don't like the safari jacket?
No, not quite the climate for it.
He's got a safari jacket in the movie.
I believe you, but I don't think you should.
All right, hold my gun. By the way, interesting way you're holding your gun with like into the armpit. All right.
Safety first.
You know what? You're right. I need to have something much more subtle.
Oh. Much better. Much better.
Huh?
He better be in this movie, or else I'm walking out.
I have a sneaking suspicion he's in the movie. Should we go take a watch?
Fine.
Let's go do it. Oh, speaking of watch, what?
Oh!
He's got the Moonraker watch on. All right, you ready to do this? Let's go do this. Okay, I love how liberal they are with the James Bond theme so far. You know who Drax looks like?
Am I too soon?
Harris Thomas, a little bit. Dressing like
Mr. Bond is eager to start his tour. Miss Dufour will escort you. Maybe you won't need it.
Wait, what did you say?
What I came for.
No?
His pants are really high.
Like super high? Like
past, way past belly button.
wow.
Shattered if I were to say information.
That was the look.
Should I tell you?
Okay, we're taking a snack and beer break. You picked out the red stripe? Very appropriate.
Over there. You missed, Mr. Bond. Did I? As you said, such good sport.
That is creepy. Hello, love. We have a special guest star.
Now.
Someone stopped by to see the movie.
Now.
What do you have?
Now. You're not putting this in, I'll kill you.
I have the pleasure of putting you out of my misery. Desolated Mr. Bond. Heartbroken, Mr. Drax. Allow me. Take a giant step for mankind.
All right, so we just watched the Moonraker. It's just called Moonraker. All right, first impressions. What did you think of it? First of all, was it different than what you remembered?
So different from what I remembered. From what I remember as a kid, I remember it mostly being in space, which is not the case at all. For some reason, I had it in my mind that it takes place in like a space station and a lot happens there.
As a matter of fact, one time I remember during the Rio part, you turned to me when we were watching, you said, "Isn't this thing take place in space?"
Yeah, because they were all over the place. They were in California, France, Rio, back in
Guatemala.
America. Yeah, Guatemala.
Los Angeles, allegedly.
So many places. So.
Yeah. All right. So I'd love to get your overall expectations because, I mean, quite frankly, I'm going to blow you away on this. I think we may have switched bodies. I went into this thinking like, it's Moonraker. It's Moonraker. It's so campy. It's Roger Moore. I actually wound up liking it better this time because I thought Bond was more about his spycraft. I thought he was more kind of like the gentleman spy in this movie. Am I pushing it?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that at all.
Okay.
I mean, I was going into it thinking like, yes, this is campy Roger Moore because I personally love that.
You do.
And for me, I didn't get that. I didn't get it as like fun.
Right.
It felt just kind of very like he was just bouncing around from female protagonist to another, and then it was just weird, and like even the outfit choices I felt were just not they weren't very representative of what was going on. They were just kind of like what kind of a helicopter pilot would wear something like that, you know?
Okay, so overall may have been more of a connection with me and less with you, but let's break it down. So first of all, let's talk about the opening song. You had a great comment during it. You turned to me and you said, do you remember what you said about that?
Yeah, because I was like, this is ridiculous. I said, I can't believe that people are complaining about Billie Eilish's song when there's something like this that exists. Because I was like, whoa, hold on. I don't remember this at all. Like, I completely just, like, what is it called? Projected it out of my mind.
Yeah.
Because I didn't remember that song at all. Like, I felt like that was the first time I was hearing it, which I know it was not.
It's not a one that I hear a lot of people typically say, oh, I'm getting in the car, I'm going to play Bond songs, and let me go to that one. And on top of that, my comment to you was, the visuals seemed a little lazy. I mean, it was kind of the same shot of a woman flying over space and this and that, but it wasn't that typical, like, oh, this feels very Bond-esque.
Yeah. Now that I saw the full movie, looking back at the opening credits scene, it didn't really translate very well. It was just kind of like, here's a shot of Earth. There you go. We got enough space in.
I agree. Now let's see if we can agree on this, because I thought like right after the song, you go right into a typical M scene. And I thought it was so traditional, even the way it was filmed, the film stock, and you've got Bernard Lee and you've got M, giving him a gadget. That seemed like a very Bond moment. Did you like that interchange with those guys?
I like the opening. I mean, it was very traditional. I think that's what hurt me, kind of, because I was like, okay, so we're going into this with no kind of like, here's something cool. Like, it was just kind of like, here's a typical Bond film.
Right.
Enjoy.
Here's the interchange with Q. Here's a gadget. He tries the gadget out. Q gets mad. It's like those tropes that you're so used to.
Yeah. I mean, that the very first thing that happens is they're falling out of the private jet.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That whole scene.
The skydiving scene?
So unrealistic.
Well,
but it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, but I mean, people actually did that. That's the crazy thing back then. They had to take a bunch of drops. And were you happy to see that Jaws was back? Did you remember that Jaws was back?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely, that is probably, one of my favorite things about any movie with him in it. I mean, he's just such a great character.
They brought him back because in The Spy Who Loved Me, the previous movie, all the kids loved him. And that's why they wanted to make him into kind of a good henchman now.
I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Because it is very simple character development, but it's character development nonetheless, which is something that's very rare with a Bond film. So I liked it.
So you like the camp and you like some of the goofiness. So did you like when Jaws was trying to like flap his arms? I mean, or did that just take you right out of the you like that?
I like that.
All right.
I like that because that fits for his character, so it made sense. When there's so many one-dimensional characters, and then you just get to know, like, okay, Jaws is the silly henchman who he seems tough, but he never really gets anything done. So that it's very easy to be like, okay, that's funny because that's what he does.
Yes. Now, you said something about the women that he was encountering in this film, because you were like, nobody dresses like that. Nobody dresses like that. They were wearing like gowns and short bippy skirts and
Yeah, like I don't know. I wasn't around for the late 70s, early 80s.
1979,
So I can't
yeah.
speak to it that much, but at the same time it's like, yeah, I mean, when she's flying a helicopter, she's wearing like, something
Plunging
you'd see
neckline.
in The Witcher. So it's just kind of like what's going on.
pencil skirt and things like that.
Yeah, like trying to fight and things like that is just very unrealistic. So.
Yeah, I would agree. And you felt bad for those dogs. They were like, they just
They
want
were
to be
so
pet.
sweet. And you know what? I think that's probably one of my biggest complaints about this movie is the audio. The dub and the audio, even the sound effects and things like that. Like there would be some like random rumbling in the background in a lot of the shots, but then they did dub, which I'm like, why would you take the time to do that if your audio is going to sound bad anyways?
Yeah, even the hits. Some of the hits were like overly projected. They were like those like electric typewriter hits, like that.
I like that. I like that though because it's very comic booky.
Yeah.
So I like that in some aspects, but no, like background noise. There was like a lot of like crumbling and things like that when they're in the big mansion in the first when you first meet.
Now you didn't
Drax.
find that very spy-like when he's like searching around and he's got to coerce the woman and then he's got to break into that little like vault thing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's something that's in every Roger Moore film. He's always looking around his hotel room, making sure. I will never forget. It might have been Sean Connery that did the hair trick, the hair over the
Connery,
door.
yes.
Yeah, it was the hair over the door. That's something that I've tried in my actual. It doesn't work, by the way.
It does
not work. No, your hair's just gonna fall right off.
I was gonna say, does it just dry out and just fall off?
I tried that as a kid when I first saw the movie. I was like, "That's so cool. I'm gonna try that with my door," and no, it doesn't stick.
That's hysterical. What did you think of Roger Moore's portrayal of Bond in this? Like the whole idea of he's kind of a badass at some points, like when they do the pheasant hunting and he shoots the guy and he's like, did I miss? I mean, did you like that particular Bond?
I think if it was filmed a little bit better, like if they weren't showing the guy in the tree every 2 seconds, because you're going to be like, okay, well, Bond's going to see him, obviously.
Like hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah, and then when he like cocks his gun, it's like really loud, and it's like, okay, everybody heard that, right?
Yeah.
So that was a little much. I think nowadays, if that was Craig in that position, he would just have him shoot, and then all of a sudden you'd see a guy fall out of the tree instead of
it would be like
showing
unexpected.
like way too much foreshadowing to the point where it's like, okay, we get it, we know what's going to happen.
So I find that James Bond movies are only as good as their bad guy. What did you think of Drax?
I thought he was okay. I thought he was pretty stereotypical. Is that your 7-Up?
Oh my gosh,
That
there
was
was so much
ridiculous.
7-Up in this film.
There was so much 7-Up. People were drinking it. It was on signs.
It was
on
Marlboro, and they showed Marlboro a bunch of times. Even in her drawer, they showed Marlboro.
Yes.
They showed the 7-Up. They showed the Seiko.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the watch they kept showing.
Even on a billboard.
And they showed this watch on a billboard, too. This is the one that he used in the explosives. I thought it was kind of a cool... But yeah, there was like product placement everywhere. I'm going to put it on, damn it. Sorry. Keep going. Oh, Drax. Yeah, I like Drax. I think Drax had some amazing lines. I think he also seemed diabolical. Like, I like the fact that he hardly moved. He kind of like would walk up to you and he'd be like, Mr. Bond. Just like very short movements. He wasn't this action-oriented guy. He was just this maniacal. And talk about
Aren't they mostly
big plans. Some of them are a little bit more like Alex Trevelyan and things like that, or action-oriented.
Most of the Bond villains, though, they'll get henchmen to do their work.
That's
they
true.
Have like a whole crew of people, which
I
wish one film would actually go into the backstory of how they achieve, how do they get all of these people to go along with them? I'd love
that's
to
true.
know that.
And they replaced them so quickly. They replaced that Krav guy with with Jaws, poor guy. The scenes in Venice when Bond is fighting the bamboo guy, the kendo guy. You had definitely some impressions of that. You weren't happy with that.
It was silly, which I liked the fact that it was silly, because why would he be dressed in like a kendo uniform with, because it's, I don't know, it's just so, what are you going to do to him? Like whap him a little bit? Ow.
Not the most effective tool to
What
kill
if he had
somebody.
a gun? He could just, you know?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that was pretty silly.
So there was one part, and I'm curious to see how you felt about it, because I remember seeing it as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, and now as a very senior adult, and loving it. And that is in the Venice scene when he's on the boat, and it's a Q gadget.
Yeah.
I mean, the Venice boat. I mean, did you like that part?
So something that I noticed about this movie in particular is that they spend a lot of time showing the gadget and showing how it works and really taking their time.
And the words.
As opposed to...
Like missile and things like that.
Well,
and,
that's another thing completely. But yeah, like when... So for example, like when the boat is turning into a car, they really take their time. They show the transformation of it like underneath, and they show him like pulling up like a steering wheel and all that stuff. So I kind of like that they're showing it, because most Bond films it's just like he pulls it out, he uses it, and it's just like boom, like.
And audiences
really
were a
take a
little
lot of time
different
off
back
of
then.
that.
1979. I mean, you really had to walk. This was the first time anybody had seen these type of things, so they had to like be a little bit more melodramatic with it.
Yeah.
This was, and I had totally forgot. This was, if you love gadgets and vehicles, I mean, this film was it.
Yeah.
I mean, even the boat that changes into the hang glider and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
A little crazy.
Pretty crazy. I liked it. I mean, I didn't like it from a cinema perspective. I thought that it was shot just woo, like
Really?
Well, when you mentioned to me that Star Wars came out,
Yes.
just that past
Just
year,
a little bit ago, yeah.
it really put it in perspective for me, because at first I was like, okay, I understand why the camera work is so bad. I understand why the audio is so bad. But then I'm like, wait, there are movies that are coming out the same year that were done, really well. And like, cinematically, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It looks like beautiful, but then you look at something like this where the camera work is like
Yeah.
and like
Little
weird
frantic.
close-up shots, and normally I'd say that's fun because it's campy, but this time it was
got to you.
it was pretty bad.
All right, and you said something else from a visual standpoint earlier. You said you were not happy with his fashions.
No, I didn't like anything anybody was wearing.
Was
I
it
couldn't
big
find one
lapels,
outfit.
big ties? Like, what was it about it?
The fit of everything was pretty loose. And normally I'm okay with that, but when it's Bond and when it's a tux or a suit of any kind, I felt like it should have been a little bit more fitted, because there were even shots from behind where his coat would come up and it's like you see all of this fabric and I'm like, why?
And the bell bottoms, you remarked about the bell bottoms.
Bell bottoms were
getting to
really
you?
bad.
I
But
think
I can understand that's the fashion.
Yes.
back
Well,
then.
he was in a tux for many scenes. I mean, he goes up
He
on
was.
the top, and he's in action scenes with a tuxedo.
And it makes me respect now the movies, a little bit further on, where they actually added more to his wardrobe other than just suits and tuxes. When Craig wears like just a t-shirt and
like
a
a
leather
polo
jacket
or something. Or...
That I can respect that now.
Yeah.
Seeing older movies and being like, that's all he wore.
That's
is
true.
Like suits.
That's true. All right, so he gets into a safari outfit.
Yes.
He sees all the women dressed in like micro mini skirts. What are those things called? Micro mini dresses?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Any perception of, today, here it is, it's 2020, young man. I mean, what
Young man.
what do you think, young man? What do you feel about, how the sexes and gender were treated in that movie? Is it a typical Bond film?
It's obviously super sexist. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean,
just blanket.
anyone that's ever watched it, you can just be like, yikes, that's really sexist. And I don't know.
But that's a Bond film, right? They come to almost expect it, or...
I mean, there are some that are worse than others. I think this one definitely was up there with like the worst, because of the way they're treated, because of even like the lines are like so like dry and quick, and even the
Play it again,
delivery.
Sam.
Well, Bond said that.
Yeah.
That was awful. But anyway, they, as far as the female roles go, it just. Yeah, it was weird.
Even so, Holly Goodhead, not a great Bond girl, not one that you'll write. I guess not. It looks like regurgitation coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that she was she's still alive?
She's still alive.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
she's
sure
one of the
that
Bond girls still alive.
she is and was like a really great actress, and I'm sure, you know,
Maybe.
but because I don't want to discredit her at all.
Okay.
But from my perspective, from my point of view, her acting was not great. I mean,
a lot of people have thought that.
She was really calm in situations where anyone,
Yeah.
doesn't matter who you are, would be freaking out. Even Bond, he was like sweating, and she's over here like,
Yeah.
it's cool, take your time.
Are you
missed like
okay?
3 times.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, okay. Like, that's so unrealistic. But
It was. Now, there was a time during the movie when, you know, obviously you were like, where's the space? Now we finally get to space. What did you think of the space scenes? Did they pay off? Were they exciting?
well, so we noticed pretty much in every scene where there was zero gravity, there were a ton of cables and wires and
Which
you
I
could
never
see the
noticed as a
harnesses
kid.
like pulling at their clothing.
Yeah.
So I mean, from a visual perspective, awful.
Yeah.
From a like, oh, this is fun, they're in space, and you know, maybe someone younger might enjoy it.
Right.
I can see that. I mean, I can definitely see it because the sets were awesome. I mean, I can't hate on them for that. I thought
No,
the sets
were amazing.
really cool.
Yeah.
Even if at the end they were kind of like looked like they were made out of paper. When the space station's blowing up, you can see the
Look
walls going like this.
Like stagehands are pushing behind them.
Yeah, and they
things
had like
that.
no weight to them whatsoever.
no.
So it just seemed really unrealistic.
That's
in
true.
That aspect.
That's true. Okay, I'll give you that. And there were some scenes that, so obviously Mom joined us, you know, not too long after it started. And, you know, I was taping a little bit and you can hear laughter. Most of the laughter was coming from Mom, I think, because some of it is just a little insane and crazy.
Yeah, I think people who remember the movie and then were to watch it again would notice a lot of differences the time around, because then you could be like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember it being that, you know, I don't remember that.
One thing I loved, and I'm curious to see if it stood out for you, because if it didn't, then the movie maybe was so distracting or you just, you know, were focused on other things, and that is the music. The soundtrack was amazing. It was John Barry, and he's done these big epic soundtracks. Like when you see almost like a Goofy model, it's forgiving because you're listening to this big emotional John Barry soundtrack. Do you remember the music at all, or is it something that kind of just washed over you?
So good movie music to me is something that I can remember once I'm done watching, and music really does transform a film, I think.
Yeah.
You can have bad music to the best film ever and it would still be bad. So that being said, I didn't enjoy the music.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Okay.
I didn't find
No,
it that moving. The fact that I can't remember it kind of speaks volumes, especially for me. Like I'm always, you know, I always have that ear for music and for audio. So for me to not remember like one song that really stood out to me is kind of
that's not a good thing. All right, so here comes the big question. You know, you went in here, you knew that we were going to watch Roger Moore movies first. We set up Moonraker today. It was our first one for James Bond Generations. Did it fall below your expectations of how much you would like it?
So I went in with pretty high expectations.
Yeah.
And I came out with it's pretty bad.
All right.
Do
Yeah.
you want me to rate it?
I would love you to, well, you know what? Do this. Try this. I mean, we're just winging this right now, but rate it what you thought you were going to rate it before you went in. Like, did you think it was going to be a 7 or an 8? And then tell me what it actually was. So what did you think it was going to be before going in?
Okay. So going into it, I thought it was going to be an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Because
Very
of
high.
campiness, because of entertainment.
Yes.
And I walked out pretty bored and tired, which is usually not how I walk out of a Bond film.
Yeah.
Usually I'm excited and I'm like, wow, that was interesting, or you know, I'm like, at least I was able to sit through it, you know. But this one was pretty tough, not gonna lie. So I would have to say 3.5 out of 10 tracks.
All right. 3.5.
Tracks
These 3.5 cucumber sandwiches.
This that showed up
Can-
everywhere, just in case if you didn't notice.
Can I press you for a 3.5 cucumber sandwich? All right, I
those
would
looked
say
amazing.
that I actually walked in thinking that it was probably going to, for me, it was going to be like a 5 out of 10. And I think it was probably a 6.5 out of 10 that I left with.
Oh, so you... Okay.
So it actually went up for me. It did. It actually went up for me. And I don't know if it was a mixture of nostalgic or I found more like spycraft moments, at least in my head. But I enjoyed it a lot more. I also enjoyed your reaction during it, so that probably elevated it a little bit. But it went up like 1.5 for me, I would say, in the end. So that's what we'll do for these Generations things. In the beginning, before we watch it, we'll rate it, what our memories tell us. And then we'll rate it afterwards and see if they align.
And they don't.
And they don't. And that happens. Ellis, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
This has been Ellis Zaritsky, and what are you doing? Is that a thing?
I was, instead of
is this the Corona
handshaking.
type thing? Yeah, I don't think we're supposed. Well, we've been quarantined together practically.
This is my circle.
This is it, and somebody upstairs, and that's about it. Ellis Zaritsky and David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We will see you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.